Today's topic is for anyone out there who considers himself or herself Pentecostal or charismatic. We're going to talk about everything that you need to know about speaking in tongues. Here's the first thing. Tongues is a good thing that can become a dysfunctional thing. Now, I want you to notice, I'm not saying that tongues isn't for today or it's not right. We're talking about the fact that tongues can become dysfunctional, and that's exactly what Paul was talking about in 1 Corinthians 14. He says this in verse 23. If unbelievers or people who don't understand these things, spiritual things like speaking in tongues, if they come into your church meeting and hear everyone speaking in an unknown language, then they'll think that you're crazy. Now, I don't know if you've ever read chapter 14 of 1 Corinthians, but clearly the church in Corinth who spoke in tongues, this gift was alive and well in their church. Clearly, they didn't really understand it very well because Paul's writing this letter to tell them that they're actually being dysfunctional in the way that they're using this incredible gift in the corporate setting. And that's why it's important if your church uses this gift in a corporate setting that you read this passage. The second thing that you'll learn is that the point of spiritual gifts in the church is to strengthen others. Now, really digest this point. Because so many people, especially in a Pentecostal or a charismatic church, so many people think that the point of spiritual gifts is to strengthen or edify themselves, but that's not actually true according to this chapter. If you're using the gift in the church, it should build other people up. Paul says this in verse 12, since you are so eager to have the special abilities that the Spirit gives, he says, seek those that will strengthen the whole church. In fact, the argument that he makes in this chapter is you guys are elevating tongues above teaching or above prophecy. And he says that doesn't even make sense in the public setting because prophecy or teaching in the public setting is valuable to everybody who comes, even the outsiders who come. Here's the last thing. Having the gift, this spiritual gift, doesn't mean that you should use it in the church meeting. Now, you might have to pause on this for a second and really pray about this and digest this point, because it might seem offensive to you that I'm telling you how you should exercise your gift. But remember, we're just looking at 1 Corinthians 14. We're seeing what Paul was saying to the church in Corinth, and we're trying to apply it to our churches today. There's a difference between public use of the gift and private use. Back to the text, verse 18. Paul says, I thank God that I speak in tongues more than any of you, but in a church meeting, I would rather speak 5 understandable words to help others than 10,000 words in an unknown language. In other words, he's saying there's a difference between exercising your gift in public and exercising it in private. Be careful about that distinction. In fact, earlier in the chapter, he says, what then shall I do? And he answers it. He says, I will pray in the Spirit, which in this context probably means praying in tongues. And he says, and I will also pray in words that I understand. He says, I will sing in the Spirit or in tongues, and I will also sing in words that I understand. I think he's talking about the difference between how he privately uses this self-edifying gift of tongues and how he does it publicly. So study it, read it, and apply it in your life and in your church today.